Hey guys, this is Chi from WX Capital. Today we're joined by Kurt, who's going to talk about Allogene, which is one of the early trades that we made, really high profile trade, where we returned about 40% in a couple of days.
Hey guys, excited to be here.
All right, Kurt. So why were you looking at Allogene as a potential investment in early May?
Yeah, so it really came down for us to the timing of the clinical data releases. So around mid-May is when we would expect the ASCO abstracts to be released, which is one of the sort of cornerstone academic conferences in oncology. And I was aware from monitoring those those timelines here that Allogene was scheduled to report some data for their lead asset, ALLO-501, in non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. This would be the first in-human data that Allogene was reporting, so we knew this was going to be a really important proof point for their entire platform.
So, okay, that's really interesting. There's a lot of data released at ASCO. So why were you tracking Allogene's progress specifically?
Yeah, great question. So for us, that starts with the fact that this is a really strong leadership team. So for a little bit of background, I first learned about the guys who are running Allogene when they were working on a first generation CAR T platform and at Kite Pharma, which was bought at the end of 2017 by Gilead for almost $12 billion.
Wow.
So that was this huge, really high profile deal. So I was really excited when these guys decided to get back in the game and launch Allogene, and they took it to IPO really quickly. So it's been on the market since 2018, and I've been tracking them ever since. So I had a little bit of background going into ASCO that this was a company to watch.
That makes sense. Now, you mentioned first generation CAR T. Can you talk a little bit about what's the difference between Allogene's technology and first gen CAR T therapy?
Yeah, for sure. That's important to understand. So basically with the current CAR T therapies, what you're doing is you're taking T cells from a specific patient, then you're genetically engineering them to express a certain surface receptor. So that's the CAR part of CAR T. And then you take these edited cells and you reinfuse them back into that same patient, where now the T cells are armed in a way that lets them better fight the cancer cells. So what Allogene does is they actually start with healthy donor cells instead of patient-specific cells, which then lets them essentially make what they call an off-the-shelf offering. So essentially, patients wouldn't have to wait for the company to make the therapy using their personally harvested cells. But that's a pretty burdensome process, pretty long manufacturing process. That's tough for these patients who unfortunately just don't have much time to wait.
Got it. Okay. Now let's talk a little about trading Allogene. So we got in at a really interesting time. It was right before the clinical trial readout. Can you talk to me about the timing and why we decided to get in at the time we did?
Yeah, for sure. So for us, there were a couple of things that made me feel really good about this data readout for ALLO-501 in non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. So first of all, we'll just go through them. First of all, for ALLO-501, their target is CD19, which is the exact same target that the current CAR Ts target in DLBCL, which is a subtype of NHL. So mechanistically, this asset's pretty de-risked. There's a lot of reason to believe, just from the scientific basis, the proof of concept from the earlier CAR Ts, that this type of target and this disease is going to work. So secondly, while this is the first time that Allogene has reported data for ALLO-501, we've actually already had a look at how this particular molecular construct might work in patients. So Allogene's partner, Servier, reported phase 1 data for their asset, UCART19, in 2018. So here's the thing. UCART19 and ALLO-501 are actually the same molecular construct. They're just produced with slightly different manufacturing methods. So the fact that we had positive data for UCART19 made us really comfortable that ALLO-501 was going to essentially work. Thirdly, this is a little bit more qualitative, but I think it's important. We were going through their earning calls transcripts about a week before the clinical data was set to read out. And, you can really get the sense from reading between the lines here that the readout was going to be positive. So there were just a couple little things that I think were really helpful. So first of all, the team was very clear about the fact that the next phase of the program was still on track to start this year. The second piece, they indicated that they were really comfortable with the range of doses tested in the phase 1 trial. So, for our listeners, phase 1 trials usually test a bunch of different ranges of doses, and you'll pick a tighter range to advance into phase 2 pivotal trials. So the fact that they were comfortable with the range of doses that they had tested, that they were on track to start the next phase at the end of this year, qualitatively, that gave me the sense that we're probably going to get a really strong efficacy signal here in that data set, or else they wouldn't be so comfortable. Keep in mind, this type of gut feel, sort of more qualitative analysis, that's not something we would use to drive a trade, but sort of taking that, in the context of what we've already talked about earlier, the little bit more quantitative background, the more data-driven analysis, it's definitely supportive of the overall conclusion that we're likely to get a positive readout here.
Right, that makes sense. And the trading itself was very exciting. So WX Capital got in Allogene around $30 a share. Tell us a little bit about what happened next during the readout.
Yeah, so it was really exciting. So the ASCO drop came after hours. So the poster was released and the data were pretty strong, where we had about 7 out of 9 patients at that point in time were responding to therapy. So people got really excited. So after market trading, they had Allogene trading all the way up at $45 a share, which puts market cap around $6 billion.
Got it. And what came next? Like, we exited at 45, around 45. Why that price?
Yeah. So, as much of an Allogene bull as I am, I definitely, as a team, we were talking about this. We had a great exit opportunity that was too good to pass up, essentially, right? Like, we'd held this position for about a day, and we'd seen somewhere between like a 35-45% return, at that point, right?
Yeah.
And the conclusion that we reached was there's still just too much uncertainty with phase 1 data alone to support a valuation up over $6 billion, right? So for comparison, and this was really helpful for us to think about, right? When Kite Pharma was bought by Gilead, its market cap was $8.4 billion, and they already had their BLA filed, right? So we're talking about a company with a similar asset further along development, and they're worth $8.5 billion, right? So then to turn around and say Allogene with phase 1 proof of concept data, poster abstract, right? Like, not even the full data set is worth over $6 billion. To us, that valuation felt a little bit like a chance for us to take our returns and sort of take a step back from there.
Got it. Yeah, I completely agree with that. Having a comp in this situation is so useful because you know exactly what a good valuation is. And we even saw Allogene run up after past $45, but effectively people realized, there's not much more to come in the near future, and it's dropped down, trading around 40, a little bit under 40 a few of these days. So we got out at a really good time. Okay. Well, Kurt, thank you so much for imparting your knowledge of Allogene onto us. I'm sure the viewers are all very grateful for your take, and a lot of the subscribers are very thankful for their 35-40% returns in a day. So seems like Allogene is very promising, good technology, will fit very well in the competitive landscape. So thank you again, Kurt.
Yeah, no, thanks for having me on today, Chi.
If you guys liked our video, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Also, check out our website at www.wx.capital. We have a great subscription service that allows you to get real-time trades as well as market commentary, so you know exactly what's going on with stocks and you know exactly what we're trading and what the next hot stock pick is. See you guys around.